Good day, everyone. Today, we will be discussing about the Social Security Act of 2018, Republic Act number 11199. This is an act that rationalizing and expanding the powers and duties of the Social Security Commission to ensure the long-term viability of the Social Security system, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 1161 as amended by Republic Act number 8282, otherwise known as the Social Security Act of 1997. First, we have the Section 1, or the short title. This act shall be known as the Social Security Act of 2018. This is the official title of the law that governs the Social Security system and provides Social Security protection to Filipino workers and their beneficiaries. Next, meron tayong Section 2, which is the declaration of the policy. So the Section 2, it declares the state's policy to establish and maintain a sound, viable, and tax-exempt social security system that promotes social justice through savings and provides protection against disability, sickness, maternity, old age, death, and other contingencies resulting in the loss of income or financial burden. The law seeks to extend social security protection to all Filipino workers, whether they are employed locally or sa overseas, as well as ang kanilang mga beneficiaries. It also promotes the principle of work, save, invest, and prosper. Also, it emphasizes the efficient and profitable management of SSS funds through sound policies and internationally recognized best practices to ensure the long-term sustainability of the system. Let's proceed to the Section 3, which is the Social Security System. Section 3 creates the SSS, or yung tinatawag nating Social Security System, as an independent and accountable government-owned and controlled corporation tasked with implementing the Social Security Act. The SSS is governed by the Social Security Commission, composed of the Secretary of Finance as chairperson, the SSS President and CEO as vice chairperson, the Secretary of Labor and Employment, and 6 appointive members representing workers and employers, at least one representative doon from each sector must be a woman. The commission members are expected to possess competence, integrity, and expertise in fields such as social security, insurance, investments, banking, finance, economics, and/or actuarial science. The law also provides fiduciary duties of commissioners, including acting with loyalty to the SSS, exercising due care and good faith, avoiding conflicts of interest, and not using their positions for personal gain, and applying sound business principles to maintain the financial stability of the SSS. Ang ating SSS President ay siyang nagsaserve as the CEO or ang Chief Executive Officer, at ang kanyang responsibility is about managing daily operations and implementing commission policies. The President may be removed for incapacity, fraudulent or illegal acts, loss of qualification, or failure to meet performance standards. Ang section na ito ay nag-create din ng Office of the Actuary, which is headed by the Chief Actuary, which conducts actuarial studies and provides recommendations regarding contributions, benefits, and investments to ensure the financial soundness of the SSS. Finally, the Commission determines the compensation, allowances, and benefits of SSS officials and employees based on job analysis and standards comparable to institutions such as the GSIS and BSP. Now, proceed naman tayo sa ating Section 4, which defines the powers and responsibilities of both the Social Security Commission and the Social Security System. Una, letter A, the powers and duties of the Commission. The Commission serves as the policy-making and governing body of the SSS. It has the authority to formulate, adopt, amend, and rescind rules and regulations necessary to implement the Social Security Act. It is responsible for establishing and maintaining provident funds for members as well as a separate provident fund for SSS officials and employees. These funds are intended to provide additional benefits beyond those granted under the regular SSS program. The Commission also conducts actuarial and statistical studies to determine the financial condition of the SSS. Based on the studies, it may adjust benefits, contribution rates, premium rates, interest rates, and fund allocations to ensure the system remains financially sustainable. It may approve restructuring proposals for unpaid contributions and loan amortizations and may authorize accredited cooperatives and associations to act as collecting agents of the SSS. A major responsibility of the Commission is implementing the contribution schedule prescribed by the law. Contribution rates increased gradually from 12% in 2020 to 15% in 2025, while the maximum monthly salary credit also increased from 20,000 to 35,000. We can actually see this by looking at the picture at the left side. Kita natin yung changes from different years which nakita nating tumaas ito mula 2020 to 2025. The Commission may also develop special social security programs for workers with unique economic, social, or geographic circumstances and has the authority to approve, review, and confirm actions taken by the SSS. Now, let's proceed to the powers and duties of the SSS. While the Commission formulates policies, ang SSS naman is responsible for implementing and administrating them. Ulitin ko, ang Commission ang siyang nagpo-formulate ng policy, while ang SSS ay ang responsible sa pag-i-implement at pag-a-administer nito. Ang kanilang mga powers and duties ay SSS must submit an annual report to the President and Congress regarding its operations and recommendations for improving the Social Security Program. It is required to conduct periodic actuarial evaluations to assess the financial condition of the benefit program and determine whether benefit increases or new benefits may be granted while maintaining actuarial soundness. Ang SSS ay mag-i-establish ng offices throughout the Philippines and even abroad when necessary to better serve members. It may enter into contracts and agreements needed for its operations, adopt and manage its budget, establish accounting systems, and gather statistical and economic data needed for policy implementation. The SSS may also acquire, develop, manage, and dispose of real and personal properties. It may also undertake housing projects, maintain hospitals and institutions for the sick, aged, and disabled, and establish schools for members and their immediate families. The SSS may contribute with the GSIS and other entities to facilitate the transfers of benefits under the Portability Law. It also has the authority to sue and be sued and perform other corporate acts necessary to carry out the objectives of the Social Security Act. Now let's proceed to the Section 5 or the settlement of disputes. Under the Section 5, it provides the process for resolving disputes involving SSS coverage, benefits, contributions, penalties, and other matters arising under the Social Security Act. Under the subsection A, the Social Security Commission has jurisdiction over these disputes. Cases may be heard by the Commission itself, its members, or authorized hearing officers. After all evidence has been submitted, the Commission must render a decision within 20 days. Under subsection B, a decision of the Commission becomes final and executory after 15 days from notice if no appeal is filed. Before going to court, parties must first exhaust all remedies available before the Commission. Under C, decisions may be appealed to the Court of Appeals within 15 days. However, when the issue involves purely questions of law, the appeal is brought directly to the Supreme Court. No appeal bond is required and appeals do not automatically stop the enforcement of the Commission's decision unless ordered by the Commission, Court of Appeals, or Supreme Court. Under naman subsection D, once a decision becomes final, the Commission may issue a writ of execution to enforce it. Any person who refuses to comply with the decision or writ may be cited for contempt in accordance with the rules of court. Simple lang ang tatandaan natin. Una, ang commission ang nag-decide cases within 20 days after submission of evidence. Ang decision can be final after 15 days if not appealed. Appeals goes to the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court for questions of law, and the commission may enforce the final decisions through a writ of execution. Proceeding to the Section 6, which is the Auditor and Counsel. The Section 6 identifies the officials responsible for the auditing and legal affairs of the SSS. The chairman of the Commission of Audit, or COA, ang nagsiserve as the ex-officio auditor of the SSS. The COA chairman, or an authorized representative, is tasked with examining and auditing all SSS accounts, funds, and properties. The audit is conducted in the same manner and with the same authority used in auditing government funds and agencies to ensure transparency, accountability, and proper use of SSS resources. Ang ating Secretary of Justice naman ay nagsiserve as the ex-officio counsel of the SSS. The Secretary of Justice, or an authorized representative, acts as the legal advisor and counsel of the SSS. This means that the SSS may rely on the Department of Justice for legal guidance, opinions, and representation in matters involving the implementation of the Social Security Act. Next, let's proceed to the Section 7, or the Oaths, Witnesses, and Production of Records. The Section 7 grants certain powers to authorized officials and employees of the SSS to assist in investigation, hearings, and dispute resolution. When authorized by the Commission, an SSS official or employee may administer oaths and affirmations, take depositions, certify official acts, issue sub buena to require the attendance of witnesses, and issue sub buena ducis tecum to compel the production of books, papers, correspondence, and other records needed as evidence. These powers enable the SSS to gather information and evidence necessary to properly investigate cases and enforce the provisions of the Social Security Act. The section also states that any person who refuses to obey or comply with lawful orders, sub buenas, or other requirements may be dealt with the Commission in accordance with the law. So sa madaling salita, ang Section 1 to 7 of the Social Security Act of 2018 established the foundation of the Philippine Social Security System. These provisions define the law's purpose, create and organize the SSS, specify the powers and duties of Commission and the SSS, provide procedures for resolving disputes, and ensure accountability through auditing, legal oversight, and investigative authority. So, that would be my report. I am Jabar Eli, and now let's proceed to the next reporter, which is Miss Lucy Florido. Thank you.
Let's now proceed to Section 8. Section 8 starts with a definition of important terms used in the law. The first term is Social Security System, or SSS. The SSS is a government agency that provides social insurance to private sector workers, self-employed individuals, and overseas Filipino workers, or OFW. It collects monthly contributions and provides benefits when members retire, become sick, disabled, or die. Next is the term employer. An employer refers to any person or company that hires workers in the Philippines. Employers are responsible for paying salaries, registering employees in the SSS, and remitting both employer and employee contributions. Self-employed individuals are also considered as both employer and employee at the same time. An employee, on the other hand, is a person who works for an employer and receives compensation in return. Dependents are the family members of an SSS member who may receive benefits in case of retirement, disability, or death. These usually include the legal spouse, children who are below 21 years old and not employed, and parents who are financially dependent on the member. Compensation refers to all earnings received by an employee, such as salary and allowances. This is important because it becomes the basis of SSS contributions. Another important term is monthly salary credit or MSC. The MSC is not the actual salary of the employee. Instead, it is a salary bracket set by the SSS that is used to compute both contributions and future benefits. This means that even if a person has a high salary, their MSC will depend on the official SSS table. So, let's say for example, imagine may company na nag-hire sa isang worker bilang cashier. Yung company, yun siya yung employer. And yung person naman na apply is the employee. Ang asawa and anak nung employee is yun yung maaaring maging dependents. And yung monthly salary niya or sweldo is yung compensation, and yung compensation na yun ang magiging basis or basehan ng kanyang monthly salary credit. Moving on, this is also part of the Section 8, and as mentioned earlier, dependents are the family members who may receive benefits if something happens to the SSS member, such as retirement, disability, or death. However, not all relatives automatically qualify. For children, they must generally be below 21 years old, unmarried, and not employed. Parents may qualify only if they regularly depend on the member for financial support. And it is also important to take note that the law prioritizes those who are financially dependent on the member because the objective of SSS is to provide social protection to families who may lose their primary source of income. Let us now proceed to Section 9 and Section 9A. This discusses the coverage and compulsory coverage of the self-employed. This section explains who are required to be members of the system. The law states that coverage is compulsory for employees, employers, self-employed individuals, and overseas Filipino workers. This means they are required by law to contribute to SSS. Voluntary members, on the other hand, include separated employees, permanent migrants, and individuals who choose to continue their contributions even if they are no longer required. The purpose of voluntary membership is to allow members to continue building their benefits. Proceeding to the Section 9B, which is the compulsory coverage of OFWs. The law recognizes the significant contribution of overseas Filipino workers to the Philippine economy. Because OFWs also need social protection, they are covered under the SSS. For sea-based OFWs, the manning agency is considered the employer and shares responsibility for paying SSS contributions. However, for land-based OFWs, they are generally treated as self-employed, meaning they usually pay their own contributions unless the Philippines has a bilateral agreement with the host country requiring foreign employers to share in the contributions. This provision ensures that OFWs continue enjoying Social Security benefits despite working outside the country. So, for example, let's say si Jenny isa siyang domestic helper. So, mabilong siya sa land-based OFW, meaning she is self-employed. So, si Jenny, siya mismo ang magbabayad or maghuhulog ng kanyang SSS contribution bilang siya ay isang self-employed. Pero kung si Jenny naman ay isang sea-based OFW, yung kanyang agency ang magiging kanyang employer. And yung employer niya is magkakaroon ng responsibility for paying her SSS contributions. Proceeding to the section 10 and 11, which is the effective date of coverage and effect of separation from employment. For section 10, this section explains when SSS coverage begins and what happens if employment ends. Coverage starts immediately once a person becomes qualified. Employers become covered on the first day of business operation, employees on the first day of work, and self-employed individuals upon registration with the SSS. If an employee resigns, retires, or is separated from employment, the employer's obligation to pay contribution ends. However, all contributions previously made remain credited to the employee's account. The member also has the option to continue paying voluntarily so that future benefits will not be affected. So, for example, first day ni Kevin sa trabaho ngayon. So, simula ngayon, covered na siya ng SSS. However, kapag nag-resign siya, the company is not responsible anymore sa pag-pay ng kanyang contribution sa SSS. So, hindi na magbabayad ang company niya, pero pwede siya maghulog voluntarily, which is yun yung na-discuss from the previous section. Proceeding to the section 11A, which is the effect of interruption of business or professional income. Unlike employees who regularly receive salaries, self-employed individuals may experience months without income. Recognizing this reality, the law provides that self-employed members who earn no income during a particular month are not required to pay SSS contributions for that month. However, they may still voluntarily continue paying contributions if they want to maintain continuous contribution records and qualify for future benefits. This provision provides flexibility while still encouraging members to continue contributing whenever possible. Let us now proceed to the section 12, which discusses monthly pension. Monthly pension is one of the main benefits of SSS. The monthly pension is the regular amount given to qualified retirees for as long as they live. The amount of pension depends on the member's salary credit, or MSC, their total contributions, and years of service. In general, the more a member contributes and the longer they will contribute, the higher their pension will be. The law also provides minimum pension amounts such as $1,200 for members with at least 10 years of service and $2,400 for those with at least 20 years. There is also an additional $1,000 monthly allowance for pensioners depending on fund availability. So for example, si Juan and Pedro is mag-best friend. Si Juan, he worked for 30 years. Si Pedro naman is 10 years pa lang. Si Juan is makakakuha ng mas mataas na pension compared kay Pedro. So that's how the SSS works. For section 12A, which is the dependent's pension, this explains the dependent's pension, which is an additional benefit given to qualified children of a pensioner. Each child may receive 10% of the monthly pension or 250 pesos, whichever is higher. However, this is limited to a maximum of 5 children. This benefit ensures the children of retirees are still supported financially. So, let's say for example, si Manong Ben, meron siyang anak na 3. May additional sila na monthly aside from his retirement pension. Moving on to the Section 12B, which explains the retirement benefits. To qualify for a monthly pension, a member must have at least 120 monthly contributions and must be either 60 years old and separated from employment or 65 years old regardless of employment status. If the member does not meet the required contributions, they will only receive a lump sum equal to their total contributions. These provisions ensures that members are rewarded for consistent long-term contributions while still providing some benefit for those who fall short. Now, let us also discuss Section 13, which covers death benefits under the Social Security law. This benefit is given to beneficiaries of a deceased SSS member. Ibig sabihin, kapag namatay ang isang member, ang kanyang family is pwede makatanggap ng benefits. So, if the member has paid at least 36 monthly contributions before death, the primary beneficiaries will receive a monthly pension. Ang primary beneficiaries is usually yung kanyang asawa at anak, which is na-mention sa mga previous na section. So, for example, kung ang father is may sapat or enough na nahulog sa SSS and siya ay namatay, ang kanyang asawa or ang kanyang mga anak is makakatanggap ng monthly pension para makatulong sa kanilang daily needs. If there are no primary beneficiaries, the secondary beneficiaries tulad ng parents will receive a lump sum benefit equivalent to 36 times the monthly pension. So, that means kung walang asawa or anak, yung parents ang makakatanggap ng amount. On the other hand, if the member has less than 36 monthly contributions, the beneficiaries will receive a lump sum benefit instead of a monthly pension. This is computed as either the monthly pension multiplied by the number of contributions paid or 12 times the monthly pension, whichever is higher, of course. So, for example, kung ang member is nakapaghulog pa lang siya ng 20 months before siya namatay, hindi siya qualified sa monthly pension, kaya ang family niya is makakatanggap ng lump sum amount na mas mataas sa dalawang computation na sabi ko kanina. So, it is important to note that the benefit depends on the contribution history of the member and the type of beneficiaries available. So, ibig sabihin, kung mas marami ang hulog ng member, mas maganda ang makukuha niya na benefits or makukuha na benefits ng kanyang family. So, overall, the purpose of this benefit is to provide financial support to the family left behind by the deceased member, especially sa times na nawalan sila ng source of income.
Let us now proceed to the Section 13A, Permanent Disability Benefits. This benefit is given to SSS members who become permanently disabled, meaning they are no longer able to continue working due to their condition. For example, kung ang isang worker is na-aksidente and hindi niya na kaya magtrabaho habang buhay, siya ay pwedeng mag-qualify sa benefit na ito. And to qualify, the member must have paid at least 36 monthly contributions before the semester of disability. Ibig sabihin, kailangan may sapat na nahulog sa SSS before nangyari yung disability na yon. There are two types of benefits under this section. First is the monthly pension, which is given if the member has completed the required 36 monthly contributions. Ito is regular na natatanggap monthly, just like sahod, para makatulong sa everyday needs. Second is the lump sum benefit, which is given if the member has less than 36 contributions. And dito naman ay isang bagsakan lang yung bayad. So for example, kung kulang ang hulog ng member, instead na monthly, isang malaking halaga or lump sum ang ibibigay sa kanya. However, there are situations where the pensions may be suspended. This happens if the member becomes employed again, or makarecover sa disability, or mag-fail to attend yung kanyang required na medical examinations. So for example, kung gumaling na yung tao and kaya niya na ulit magtrabaho, pero patuloy pa rin siyang tumatanggap ng pension, ito is pwede siyang i-stop or ihinto ng SSS. So in case the pensioner dies, the beneficiaries tulad nung asawa at anak will continue receiving the pension. This means that hindi masasayang yung benefits dahil mapupunta yun sa kanyang family members. Let us now move on to the types of disabilities covered under the Section 13A. First is the permanent total disability, which refers to severe conditions where the member is completely unable to work. So, examples include total blindness in both eyes or pagkawala ng dalawang paa or kamay, permanent paralysis, or brain injury na nagdudulot ng pagkawala ng ability to think properly. Sa ganitong situation, ang members is binibigyan ng monthly pension dahil tuluyan na siyang hindi makakapagtrabaho. Next is permanent partial disability, where only a part of the body is affected. In this case naman, may kakayahan pa rin magtrabaho yung member pero may limits na. The benefit here depends on the specific body part affected and is given for a certain number of months. For example, kung ang isang tao is nawala ng isang hinlalaki or thumb, makakatanggap siya ng benefit for 10 months. Kung isang kamay naman ang nawala, 39 months. Kung isang mata ang nawalan ng paningin, 25 months. So, if a member has multiple disabilities, the benefits can also be combined. Halimbawa, kung nawalan siya ng isang daliri and at the same time, meron siyang hearing loss din, pwedeng pagsamahin yung computation ng kanyang benefits. Pero, hanggang 100% lamang yung maximum. Also, if the benefit is payable for less than 12 months, it will be given as lump sum instead of monthly payments. So, that means kung maikli lang ang period ng benefit, isang bagsakan lang din, like lump sum na itong ibibigay para mas convenient siya sa member. For Section 13B, the funeral benefits, this benefit provides a fixed amount of 12,000 pesos to help cover funeral expenses when a member passes away. For example, kapag may namatay na isang member, may binibigay na tulong financial para makatulong sa gastusin sa burial and living. So, this benefit is given sa kanyang family or sa person who shouldered the funeral expenses. Maaari itong ibigay in cash or in kind, depende sa arrangement. It applies to the death of an SSS member, a retiree, or a permanently totally disabled pensioner. Ibig sabihin, kahit ang isang retired or tumatanggap na before ng disability pension is sakop pa rin ito. So the purpose of this benefit is to provide immediate financial assistance sa family during a difficult time. This will not cover everything, but malaking tulong pa rin ito, especially sa biglaan na pangangailangan. So unlike on other benefits, this is a fixed amount and does not depend on the contributions of the member. Pare-pareho lang ang binibigay na amount sa lahat ng qualified cases.
Section 14. Sickness Benefit. Granted to members unable to work due to sickness or injury. Must have paid at least 3 monthly contributions within the 12 months before the semester of sickness. Maximum of 120 days per year and 240 days for the same illness. Daily sickness benefit equals 90% of average daily salary credit. Ang Section 14 ay tungkol sa sickness benefit. Ito ay cash allowance na ibinibigay sa isang miyembro ng SSS na hindi makapagtrabaho dahil sa sakit o injury. Para maging qualified, kailangan nakapagbayad siya ng hindi bababa sa 3 monthly contributions sa loob ng 12 months bago ang semester ng pagkasakit. Ang matatanggap na benefit ay katumbas ng 90% ng kanyang average daily salary credit. Maaari itong ma-avail hanggang 120 days sa isang taon at hanggang 240 days para sa parehong sakit. Section 14A. Maternity Benefit. For female members who have paid the required contributions, covers 60 days for normal delivery and miscarriage, 78 days for cesarean delivery. Employer advances payment is reimbursed by SSS. Daily maternity benefit equals 100% of ADSC. Ang Section 14A naman ay tungkol sa maternity benefit para sa mga babaeng membro ng SSS. Ito ay cash benefit na ibinibigay kapag nanganak o nakaranas ng miscarriage. Ang benefit ay katumbas ng 100% ng average daily salary credit. Karaniwang sakop nito ang 60 days para sa normal delivery o miscarriage at 78 days naman kung cesarean delivery. Section 14B, Unemployment Insurance Benefit. For involuntary separated employees, must be below 60 years old, must have at least 36 contributions, with 12 contributions in the last 18 months. Benefit equals 50% of average monthly salary credit for up to 2 months. Ang Section 14B ay para sa mga empleyadong nawala ng trabaho nang hindi nila kasalanan o tinatawag na involuntary separation. Kailangan ay wala pang 60 years old at may sapat na contribution sa SSS. Makakatanggap sila ng monthly cash benefit na katumbas ng 50% ng kanilang average monthly salary credit sa loob ng maximum na 2 months. Section 15. Non-transferability of benefits. Benefits are paid only to the rightful beneficiary. Benefits cannot be assigned, transferred, or collected through unauthorized representatives. Death benefits go to legal heirs if no qualified beneficiary exists. Sa Section 15, nakasaad na ang mga SSS benefits ay para lamang sa tunay na beneficiary. Hindi ito maaaring ipasa, ibenta, o ipaklaim sa ibang tao maliban kung pinayagan ng batas. Layunin nito na matiyak na ang benefit ay mapupunta sa tamang tao. Section 16. Exemption from tax, legal process, and lien. SSS funds, assets, and benefits are tax exempt. Benefits cannot be garnished, attached, or seized by creditors. Ang Section 16 ay nagsasabi na ang mga benefit at pondo ng SSS ay exempted sa tax. Ibig sabihin, hindi ito pwedeng kaltasan ng tax o kunin bilang pambayad sa utang sa pamamagitan ng legal process. Section 17. Fees of agents, attorneys, etc. No agent or attorney may charge fees for processing SSS claims. Attorneys' fees allowed only in cases before the commission and limited to 10% of benefits awarded. Sa Section 17, ipinagbabawal ang pagsigil ng bayad ng mga ahente o middleman para sa pagproseso ng SSS claims. Kung may abogado man, limitado lamang ang maaring singilin ng attorney's fees ayon sa batas. Section 18, Employees' Contributions. Employee contributions are deducted from monthly salary. Contributions are based on the SSS contribution schedule. Also applies to self-employed and voluntary members. Ang Section 18 ay tumatalakay sa contribution ng empleyado. Buwan-buwan may kinakaltas sa sweldo ng empleyado bilang kanyang SSS contribution. Ang halaga ng contribution ay naka-base sa kanyang salary bracket o monthly salary credit. Section 19, Employers' Contributions. Employers must pay their share of SSS contributions. Employee contributions cannot be deducted from employees' salaries. Employees must submit contributions reports to SSS. Ang Section 19 naman ay tungkol sa contribution ng employer. Bukod sa kinakaltas sa empleyado, may sarili ring bahagi ang employer na kanyang babayaran sa SSS. Hindi maaaring ipasa ng employer sa empleyado ang kanyang bahagi ng contributions. Section 19A, Contributions of Self-Employed Members. Self-employed members pay both employer and employee shares. Contributions are based on declared monthly earnings. Earnings declarations serve as basis for monthly salary credit. Para naman sa Section 19A, ito ay para sa mga self-employed members. Dahil wala silang employer, sila mismo ang nagbabayad ng buong contribution sa SSS. Ang kanilang contribution ay naka-base sa kanilang declared monthly earnings. Section 20, Government Contribution. The government provides funds needed for SSS operations. Additional appropriations may be made to ensure fund stability. Ang Section 20 ay nagsasaad na nagbibigay rin ng suporta ang gobyerno upang masiguradong maayos ang operasyon ng SSS at ang pagbibigay ng mga benefits sa mga miyembro nito. Section 21, Government Guarantee. The Philippine government guarantees SSS benefits, ensures the solvency and sustainability of SSS. Sa Section 21, Government guarantees SSS benefits. Ibig sabihin, may suporta ang gobyerno upang mapanatili ang kakayahan ng SSS na magbayad ng mga benefit. Section 22 and Section 22A, Remittance of Contributions. Employers must remit contributions within prescribed periods. Late remittances are subject to penalties. Self-employed members remit contributions according to SSS schedules. Ang Section 22 and Section 22A ay tungkol sa remittance o paghuhulog ng contribution. Responsibilidad ng employer at self-employed members na maihulog sa tamang oras ang kanilang contributions. Kapag nahuli sa paghulog, maaaring magkaroon ng penalty. Section 23, Method of Collection and Payment. SSS establishes procedures for collection and payment of contributions. Payments may be made through approved methods and channels. Sa Section 23, binibigyan ng kapangyarihan ang SSS na magtakda ng mga paraan kung paano kokolektahin at tatanggapin ang mga kontribusyon mula sa mga miyembro at employer. Section 24, Employment Records and Reports. Employers must maintain and submit accurate employee records. includes employee information, salaries, and dependents. Failure to report employees may result in liability for benefits and damages. Ang huling ang huling bahagi, ang Section 24, ay nagsasaad na kailangan magtago at magsumite ng tamang records ang employer tungkol sa kanilang mga empleyado. Kasama rito ang impormasyon tungkol sa sweldo, trabaho at iba pang detalye ng kanilang SSS. At iba pang detalye na kailangan ng SSS. Mahalaga ito upang masigurong tama ang contributions at benefit na matatanggap ng empleyado.
Let us proceed to Section 24A, Report and Registration of Self-Employed Members. This section says that if a person is self-employed, they need to register with the SSS within 30 days from the time they start their business or profession. They also need to give their personal information, occupation, monthly income, and dependents. The purpose of this is to make sure that self-employed people are officially recorded in the SSS system or SS system and can receive benefits in the future. For example, if someone open a small sari-sari store or start working as freelancer makeup artist, they must register with the SSS within 30 days so they can start paying contribution and become eligible for benefits. Section 24A is about self-employed members. So it means if a person start a business or work for themselves, they need to register with SSS within 30 days and provide their details, income, and dependents. Section 25, Deposit and Distribution. This section explains how the money collected by the SSS should be handled. All contribution and funds collected must be properly deposited, managed, and used only for legal purposes. It also limits how much can be spent on administrative expense like salaries, office supplies, and maintenance. So most of the money will still go to member benefit. For example, if SSS collect millions of pesos from members' contribution, it cannot spend all of it on office expense. Most of that money shall be reserved for benefits like sickness, maternity, disability, or retirement claims. These sections focus more on the proper handling of SSS funds. It says that money collected must be safely deposited and only a limited amount can be used for administrative expense, so the fund will mainly be used for the members' benefit. Section 26, Investment of Reserve Funds. This section says that the money of the SSS is not immediately needed for daily operation can be invested. The goal is to make fund grow so that the SSS will continue to have enough money to pay benefit to members in future. However, this investment must be safe, liquid, and profitable. For example, instead of letting extra fund just stay unused, SSS may invest them in government bonds or other approved investments so the money will earn income and become bigger over time. Under this section, SSS can invest its extra fund. Since not all collected money is used right away, SSS can invest it in a safe, legal ways so the fund can grow and continue supporting members in the future. There are kinds of investment under Section 26, kaya nga investment of reserves. So, A, government securities. Under government securities, these SSS can invest in government bond, treasury bond, or other debt instrument issued or guaranteed by the Philippines government. These are considered safe because they are backed by the government. For example, if SSS buy government treasury bond, the government will pay back the money with interest after a certain period. This part allows SSS to invest in government securities because these are safer investment and are guaranteed by the government. There's also a government infrastructure-related investment, which SSS may also invest in government-backed projects like roads, bridge, ports, and telecommunication system. These are projects that helps the country develop while also giving income to SSS fund. These sections will allow the SSS to invest in government infrastructure such as road and all of that I mentioned earlier. For example, if the government build a major highway project and issue bond for funding, SSS may invest in those bonds. So another thing naman na pwedeng i-invest ng SSS ang reserve fund nila is government financial instrument or corporation. They can invest in bond or securities issued by government financial institution or government-owned corporation as long as they are financially stable and acceptable. For example, they may invest in bond issued by the government bank if that investment is approved and considered safe. Let's proceed to the bank deposit or loans to private corporation. This investment through bank deposit, security, or lending agreement with banks doing business in the Philippines, but this investment must follow rules and limitations to avoid too much risk. In Section 26D, this allow SSS to place money in the bank or approve financial agreement, but it must still be done carefully within allowed limits. For example, SSS may place part of its reserve fund in the trusted bank as deposit investment. Under Section 26E, housing loans and members loans. This section allows them to use part of its reserve funds for housing loans and short-term or medium-term loan for members. This help members with important financial need like housing, salary loans, education loans, or emergency loans. For example, if a member want to apply for housing loans to buy a house, money used for that loan may come from SSS Reserve Fund. Let us proceed to Section 26F, Education and Medical Institution. SSS may invest in school, hospital, or medical institution through approved debt instrument. This support important sectors while also help the fund grow. For example of this is, if the hospital issue bonds to improve its facilities, SSS may invest in those bonds if they are allowed by the law. Now let us proceed to the Section 26G, the real estate and real estate related investment. This means that SSS can invest in real estate properties, real estate project, or projects secured by real estate, as long as this investment benefit the SSS and followed the allowed limits. For example of this is when SSS may invest in property development project that is backed by land or building to security related investment. This section allows SSS to invest in real estate or property related project but only if it is safe and helpful to the fund. Under Section 26H, prime corporation or multilateral institution, this state that SSS can invest in financial strong corporation or institution that have good records of paying debts and earning profit. This means that SSS should only invest in stable and trusted companies, since these are the contribution made by the employers. For example, if a large and reliable company issued bond and has a strong financial record, then SSS may invest on those, so that money can grow without taking too much risk. Under Section 26I, the listed share of stocks, which SSS may buy preferred or common shares of companies listed in the stock exchange as long as these companies have a proven record of profitability and dividend payment. For example, they may buy shares in well-established company that regularly earn profit and give dividend to shareholders. Let us proceed to Section 26J, domestic in relation to domestic or foreign mutual funds. This section will allow the SSS to invest in mutual fund, whether local or foreign, provided that they have operating for a certain number of years and meet the requirement condition. For example, they may invest in mutual fund that spread money across different company to reduce the risk. So this is relevant to the investment or diversification of the fund para malas yung risk na malulugi yung perang gagamitin. Section 26K, in relation to foreign currency deposit and foreign investment. As we all know, if we invest on a foreign investment or we deposit using foreign currency, we had to use the current exchange rate. So there could be potentially loss or gain on this. SSS may invest in foreign currency deposit or foreign currency instrument, but only under strict rules and within allowed limit. This helps diversify the investment portfolio. Diversification meaning we spread out our funds to lessen their or to reduce the risk. They may place a small portion of its fund in foreign currency investment approved by law. Under Section 26L, in relation to the loan security by collateral, this may give loans that are backed by collateral like cash, pension right, or government securities. Since there is collateral, the risk of losing money become lower. For example, if a pensioner borrows money and use part of their pension as security, that loan may fall under this provision. In Section 26M, this is flexible provision that allow SSS to invest in other financial instrument approved by the BSP or Bangko Sentral of the Philippines, as long as they are safe and legal. For example, if the BSP approved a new type of investment instrument that is considered safe, SSS may invest in it. So that's all for Section 26 investment of reserve fund that are allowed or that the SSS may invest to. Let us now proceed to the Section 26A fund manager. Under this section, SSS may hire local or foreign fund manager to professionally handle the reserve fund. This is important because managing investment requires skill and expertise. For example, they may appoint an investment firm to manage part of its fund and make wise investment. Let us now proceed to Section 26B, Mortgagor Instrument. Let us now proceed to Section 26B, Mortgagor Insurance Account. This section allows SSS to act as issuer for mortgage-related properties or leads off as mortgagor. It also creates separate account for money related to this insurance. For example, if a member gets an SSS housing loan and dies before fully paying it, the insurance may help settle the loan balance. So this is about insurance collected to SSS mortgage loan if protects both the borrower and the SSS in case of something happened. Under Section 27, Records and Report. This requires the SSS president to keep proper records of all operation, collection, distribution, and account of the SSS. It also requires an annual report to be submitted and published to the public can know the financial condition of the SSS. For example, every year, SSS must prepare a report showing how much money it collected, how much benefit it paid, and the status of its fund. This is about transparency and accountability. It requires the SSS to keep record and submit annual report to the public can see how the fund is being managed. So under Section 28, Penal Laws. This section talks about the penal laws for violation of the SS law or Social Security law. It punishes fraud, false claim, misissued of funds, failure to remit contribution, and other unlawful act involving SSS. For example, if an employer deduct SSS contribution from the employees but keep the money instead of remitting it to the SSS, the employer may face penalties or imprisonment. This section contains the penalties for people who violate the Social Security law. It protects the fund and the members from fraud and abuse. Under this, there's a specific violation under Section 28 Penal Laws. Let us start with A, the false statement or misrepresentation. For example of this is anyone who lies or give false information to get SSS benefit or loan may be punished. Or another example is if a person pretend to be disabled to receive disability benefit even if they are not actually disabled. This punish people or this in this section it punish people who make false claim or fake information just to benefit from the SSS. Another is B, receiving money without rights. This applies to people who get SSS money even though they do not have the legal right to receive it. For example, a person who receives SSS money even though they are not entitled to may be penalized. Or someone claims a deceased relative SSS benefit even if they are not the rightful beneficiary. Now on C. Section 28C. In relation to illegal sale or use of SSS collection device or documents. This section prevents people from using or selling official SSS document or collection material without permission. For example, if this punishment unauthorized use, sale, transfer, or possession of official SSS form, collection device, or related material. Example, a person is illegally selling fake SSS receipt or collection forms. So they are bound to penal costs under Section 28. Let us proceed to Section 28D in relation to forgery or counterfeiting of SSS documents. This applies to people who forge or counterfeit SSS form, documents, stamps, or device. For example, a person makes a fake SSS contribution receipt to pretend that contribution were already paid. This will punish forger or fake SSS document because it can be used to deceive the system. Under E, in relation to failure to comply with the law or rules. Anyone who refused or failed to follow the SSS law or implementing rules may be penalized. For example, self-employed person who required to register but intentionally refused to do so may be liable. This section covers general violations such as failure to register, failure to pay contribution, or failure to follow SSS rules. Under F, in relation to liability of officer of association or corporation. If the violator is a corporation, association, or partnership, the responsible officer or manager may be personally liable. Example, if a company does not remit employees' SSS contribution, the manager or owner are responsible, may be charged. This means that a company cannot simply hide behind its business name because the officer responsible may be punished. Let's proceed to D. To G, in relation to misappropriation of SSS funds or property. So, gaya sabi ko nina, there's a fund or reserve fund management in order to maximize the use of the excess fund of the SSS. If the SSS employees steal, misuse, or mishandled SSS money or property, they can be penalized. For example, when the employee secretly takes part of the contribution collected for personal use, then they are subject to penal costs under Section 28 of Social Security Law. This section punishes SSS employee who misuse the money or property entrusted to them. Let us proceed to H, failure of employer to remit deduction. If a employer deduct contribution or loan payment from the employee's salary but does not remit them to the SSS, the employer is presumed to have misappropriated the money. For example, the company deduct SSS contribution every month from the worker's salary, but the employer keeps the money instead of paying SSS. This is a serious offense because the employee already paid but the employer failed to forward the money to SSS. Under Section 28I, in relation to criminal action, criminal cases for violation of law may be filed by the SSS or by the affected employee or member. For example, if employer repeatedly refused to remit contribution, the employee may complain and criminal case may be filed. In this section, it says that legal action can be taken against violator either by the SSS itself or by the affected members. So that's all for the Section 28 penal clause. Ulitin ko lang ang mga specific violation under Section 28. A. False statement of claims. B. Receiving money without rights. C. Illegal use or sale of SSS document devices or SSS documents. D. Forgery or counterfeiting. E. Failure to comply with law. F. Liability of officers of corporation or association. G. Misuse of assessors fund or property by the employees. H. Employer failed to remit deduction. I. Criminal action. With that, let us proceed to the Section 28, Government Aid. Government aid. This section says that being an SSS member does not stop a person from receiving other government assistance if they are qualified for it. For example, a member receiving SSS benefit may still qualify for other government support program if the law allows it. In this section, it means that being under SSS does not automatically remove a person's right to receive other government aids. Under Section 30 of Social Security Law, implementing rules and regulation. In this section, it authorized the Commission to create the rules and regulation needed to properly implement the law. For example, if the law says self-employed member must register, the implementation rule will explain how, where, and when they should do it. In this section, it is important because law needs detailed rules for actual implementation, and this section gives the Commission the authority to make those rules. Section 31 of Social Security Law, Transitory Clause. This section gives delinquent employers a chance to pay their unpaid SSS contribution within a certain period, sometimes through installment payment without immediately suffering the full penalty as long as they follow the approved term. For instance, if a business failed to remit contribution for several months, it may be allowed to pay the amount in installment during the grace period. In this section, it is like a transition period. It gives employer with unpaid contribution a chance to settle their obligation properly. In Section 23 of Social Security Law, Separability Clause. This section means that if one party of law is declared invalid or unconstitutional, the rest of the law will still remain valid and enforceable. For instance, if one provision about investment is later struck down by the court, the other section about registration, contribution, and penalties will still remain effective. This section protects the law as a whole. Even if one part is invalid, the rest can still continue to operate. Let us proceed to Section 33, Repealing Clause. In this section, it repeals or modifies previous law, rules, or regulation that conflict with this act. It ensures that the new law will prevail over old inconsistent provision. For example, if an old SSS rules say something different from this new act, the new act will be followed. In this section, it simply means that old law or rules inconsistent with this act are repealed or changed so that there will be no conflict. So that is all under Social Security Law. Thank you.